Welcome back to the channel. I recently drew out on a limited entry bull elk unit I've been putting in for quite some time. I'm really excited for this. While this isn't probably a once in a lifetime hunt, I hopefully have a couple more of these. It's a pretty important hunt, and I want to be able to pick the right rifle that I'm most comfortable with, where I'm going to make the shot that counts. Is it going to be my Weatherby Vanguard in 300 Weatherby, or my beautiful Mark V Deluxe in 340 Weatherby Magnum? So in today's video, we're going to talk about the pros and cons of each rifle, which one I feel most comfortable with. I need your help, guys. Which one should I really take? Now, I know what a lot of you guys are thinking. Oh, we're loading Weatherby. You constantly tease us that you're going to use your beautiful Mark V Deluxe, but we all know you're just going to take your 300 Weatherby because you don't want to scratch the stock on this. Well, I've had this rifle for 2 years. I've yet to take it hunting. It's about time, really. And, you know, as beautiful as this stock is, and as much as I've tried to baby this stock, I still have dinged it up. So it's not like it's in perfect condition. I mean, it's still beautiful. Let me show you. It's an incredible looking gun. But, you know, it definitely has its little warts. So I'm actually considering taking this. There's just a couple of drawbacks, which I'm going to get into when I compare it to my 300 Weatherby. So if I were to take my 340 Weatherby, here is what we're shooting. This is a 250 grain AccuBond that's leaving the muzzle at 2950 feet per second. And most of the time it shoots just under sub MOA. So it's a pretty darn good load and an absolute hammer. So what are the reasons why I'm a little hesitant to take my 340 Weatherby on this elk hunt? Honestly, it doesn't have anything to do with the stock. Number one, I'm just not as comfortable shooting it as I am my 300 Weatherby. The reality is this thing kicked quite a bit. And the other thing is my 300 Weatherby is a bit more accurate. You know, I can consistently get sub MOA, a lot of times half MOA out of my 300 Weatherby. With my 340 Weatherby, is kind of a wild card. Like I said, it can get sub MOA, but once in a while, it will just throw a shot out in left field where it's like, what in the world was that? Why did it go way far out? And that's just kind of the reality of the Deluxe. I'm a lot more comfortable with the 300 Weatherby Magnum, at least in that Vanguard rifle. I feel a lot more confident in its accuracy. Now, I don't think you need pinpoint accuracy to go elk hunting. You know, I'm not going to be doing any long distance shooting. I still think this is plenty accurate out to 400, maybe 500 yards. I think it's totally fine. But let me talk about one big problem I have with this 340 Weatherby. As I said, I'm not as comfortable shooting it as I am the 300. And before I go out this October, if I were to take that 340 Weatherby, I want to get comfortable. I want to be able to shoot it really well and just be as confident as can be when I take my shot this October. There's one big problem. So that means I'd want to practice a lot with my 340 Weatherby, and not just at the bench, but actually shooting it in field conditions. And one of the big problems I have is the load that I like the most, which is that 250 AccuBond, is loaded up with this powder you cannot get anymore. The IMR 7828 SSC, it just works. I hardly have any left. I've loaded up 20 rounds of this. So there is about 7,000 grains in 1 pound of powder. I would probably say I have 300, maybe 400 grains left of powder. I don't have a lot to practice with to get comfortable with that 340 Weatherby Magnum. So that's just kind of the reality I have, is I can't really practice with this a lot because of the lack of powder. Let's go over my 300 Weatherby. And in all honesty, guys, I don't see really any downsides to this 300 Weatherby. A lot of you already know what this is, but it's a terminal ascent 200 grain going nearly 3,100 feet per second, which puts my muzzle energy over 4,200, close to 4,300 foot-pounds of energy. And in a sec, I'm going to show you the ballistic numbers on paper, this 300 Weatherby versus the 340 Weatherby. Both of them are more than adequate for anything I'm going to hunt here. I guess the only downside when comparing to the 340 Weatherby, the 340 Weatherby does have a little bit more energy. And I'm not really the end-all, be-all guy for energy. I don't think energy kills. I think it helps. There's just not a lot of downsides to this. For one, I got plenty of 200 grain terminal ascent bullets. As long as Big Timber doesn't mind me shooting them all up. And then I'm loading it with a powder I can actually get on a regular basis. H4831SC. Love this powder for 300 Weatherby. I also have a suppressor for my 300 Weatherby. It's a 30 cal suppressor, so I can't put it on my 340 Weatherby. I also think it'd be kind of like sacrilegious to put a suppressor on that deluxe, but I can't anyway. Just for old time's sake, let's look at the ballistics. Compare the 300 Weatherby with the 200 grain terminal ascent to my 340 Weatherby. Again, the 200 grain terminal ascent at 3,090 feet per second, we're at 4,241 foot-pounds of energy. Now, before I go on, the elevation I'm using is 8,500 feet with the gun sighted in at 200 yards. I mean, even out to 250 yards, this bolt's going 2,803 feet per second and 3,491 foot-pounds of energy. That is a fast 7 rem mag energy out of the muzzle. At 500 yards, which is probably as far as I would ever want to take something, the bullet's going plenty fast enough, 2,535 foot-pounds with 2,854 foot-pounds of energy. Put things in perspective, okay? This little 6.5 Creedmoor out of the muzzle gets around 2,400 foot-pounds of energy. So at 500 yards, the 300 Weatherby still has 400 more foot-pounds of energy than a 6.5 Creedmoor ever could have. All right, let's look at the 340 Weatherby with the 250 AccuBond at 2,950 feet per second. Woo-wee, over 4,800 foot-pounds of energy at 250 yards. The bullet's definitely going slower than the 300 Weatherby, and the BC is better on the terminal ascent as well. So the 340 is just going to be slower, 2,662 feet per second, but 3,933 foot-pounds of energy at 250 yards. Wow. Then to 500, the bullet's almost going 2,400 feet per second, and we are at 3,174 foot-pounds of energy at 500 yards. That's crazy. Oh, one thing I forgot to show you. This is the drop in MOA at 500, 5.8 with a 10 mile per hour wind, 1.71 in wind adjustment, okay? Then the 340, as I said, it's not as flat shooting, 6.54 MOA and 1.90. There's really not many downsides to using the 300 Weatherby. It's got great ballistics. It's a bit more accurate than my 340. And probably the most important thing is I'm really comfortable shooting it. Now, I did a couple weeks ago have someone, shocked, really. Someone said my 300 Weatherby wasn't enough for North American big game. Who knew? There's someone out there that thinks 300 Weatherby is not powerful enough. I already showed the ballistics. I think it's plenty powerful. But I think they were just trying to get me to just use my 340 Weatherby. Then we have my beautiful Mark V Deluxe. It would be really awesome to take a big bull elk with the 340 Weatherby. I'd love to see what that cartridge does to a big bull elk, and I know a lot of you guys would too. But again, I just really kind of have one problem is I don't have a lot of powder to be able to practice with this to get really proficient with the Mark V Deluxe. So I want to hear from you guys. And I know what you guys are mostly going to say. Use the 340 Weatherby. I know. I just need to get some IMR 7828 SSC.